Recording. Morning.
Morning.
We've got quite a good attendance this morning. I will note as chair the fifth of our quorum. We've got 10 of our members so far. So please let the minutes reflect the names of the members who are present. I circulated the draft agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to change or add to the agenda? Not hearing that, if I have a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated, we will move on.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, not hearing any objections, we'll consider the agenda adopted by unanimous consent. Also circulated the minutes of the last meeting in October. Does anybody have any suggested changes or edits to the minutes of our last meeting?
Do we accept as
Okay, second.
No second.
Okay, not hearing any objections or changes, we will consider the minutes of our October meeting adopted as circulated. Okay. We've got some new members. It's taken us quite a time, and we want to thank our county executive Mark Outridge and his staff for having provided us with 3 new members, and the council for confirming them. I'm going to take some time here to ask for some introductions so we can all get acquainted. And we have Jorge Quintana sitting to my right, and we will start. If you can give us some idea where you live in the county, where you come from, some of maybe what you do when you're not in joining us, and your perhaps some interest, if you have some ideas for the work of this commission that brought you here. We're glad to hear it.
Jorge Quintana. I live in Silver Spring. I've lived there for the last 4 years. Moved here from Big Sky Country in Montana to follow my daughter, who decided to go to Hopkins and live out on the East Coast. In my day job, I am a attorney advisor for the DC Board of Elections, and previous to that, I'd worked as a Montgomery County commissioner for the judiciary. And I'm just I can't help it. I enjoy this kind of stuff, so here I am.
All right, well, we'll think about that. Okay. We also have Sarah Andrew Wilson, who is with us, and you're on mute, so I will ask you to unmute yourself and then tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sarah Andrew Wilson. I lived in Montgomery County now for 18 years. I'm currently in Darnestown. Previously, I was in Silver Spring. I am the co-founder of a tech company called Cordia AI, but before that, I spent 20 years as a director at different nonprofit organizations throughout the area. And I just completed the core program of Leadership Montgomery, which really opened my eyes to how lots of different facets of the county work. And I want to just be more, want to participate more in the inner workings of the county. So I'm thrilled to join the commission.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Welcome. And we have Alicia Figueroa, who you are on mute. So if you unmute yourself and.
Hi, my name's Alicia Figueroa. I've lived in Rockville for about 7 years now. I came from Lancaster, Pennsylvania before that. I currently work as a real estate broker and property manager. And I joined because I wanted to bring practical perspective on how policies affect our communities, small businesses, and housing.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, so I will say for our 3 new members, you're joining us at an interesting time because we are sort of at the point where we are trying to wrapping up the topics that we think we will be discussing in our upcoming and second and final report to the council. So you'll have a say in what actually goes into that report. It's been a long, I think I'll speak for everybody, it's been a long 3 years, and we've covered a lot of ground, but this is sort of our home stretch. And I think we're all looking forward to getting through the home stretch. It gets a little intense, I think, in the area of February, March, when we've got a lot of drafting and stuff. But we work to get the actual report out then. So hopefully we will get through it smoothly, and the addition of 3 more hands is always a nice thing. 6 hands. Okay, that's true. Yeah. I wasn't gonna make assumptions.
Lawyer.
All right, now, um, I see we have some staff members on our Zoom as well, and they have an introduction to make because we've got a new staff member joining us today. And I'm trying to read the screen on the right hand to see who's here. It's Amina, and I think I know which one is you. Amina, you there?
Yes, hi, I'm here. Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, you're there.
Okay, hi everybody.
Hi.
My name is Amina Halim. I work in the Office of the County Attorney under John Markovs. And I work very closely with the commission. So welcome to all the new members and all the old members. Good to see you today.
Veteran, you're the old one.
Yeah. And I just wanted to introduce my colleague, Aditi Kumar. She's recently joined the Office of the County Attorney from the federal government, and she's been in the practice of law for about 10 years. And she will be joining me on Aaron Ashbury's team. That's our direct supervisor under John Markovs, and she will be joining me as counsel to this commission. So in the future, if any of you have any particular legal questions regarding the charter, you can direct them to both myself and Aditi, and we're very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. I don't know if she planned to be on camera or planned to say anything.
We
There you go.
both will be going off camera, so we don't disrupt the meeting or just
All right,
detract
I
in
just
a
want to
little
know, she
bit.
is welcome to say hello or whatever she wants to say.
Yes,
She wants
Aditi, if you
just-
want to say hi.
Yes, hi everyone. As Amina said, I'm Aditi Kumar. I'm glad to be here and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you. And I'll go on mute so I don't disturb anything.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, let's move on to the chair's report. Okay, we did get out, we know at our last meeting, we talked about our press release. We did get our press release out on October 30, announcing our November 19 public listening session. Right after we issued that, I took the opportunity to contact all of our 5 regional citizens advisory boards and provide them a copy of the press release and invite them to attend and participate and to take up the topic that we're going to be discussing. And if their members want to participate by testifying, whatever, they certainly can do that. One of them reached back to me and asked for additional information, which showed genuine interest. That was the Western Regional Citizens Advisory Board. And so I actually provided additional information to all of them. I'm also just giving it to everybody. Sent them copies of the relevant code provisions and the county's policy, and gave them some links where they could get additional information. And suggested they might want to view the videotape of the session we had where we had the council's budget and finance staff talk to us about the reserve issue. So they have the information. We will see whether or not they choose to participate or whether or not they have a view on the issue.
Was that the general nature of their question?
We did not get into any substance. They just wanted the information I thought, here's all the background. And then I did see they reached out to their members and made sure that their members had it and told them they were, I guess they're gonna put it on their agenda to discuss at some point, but
And that's the 19th, that's next week.
it is the 19th. It is next
There's
week.
2 meetings.
Yeah.
Right, one in the day and then a Zoom one in the night.
Yeah, and let me invite any of our new members who feel like they don't have all the information, whatever, just reach out to me, call, email, whatever, and I'll make sure you get or whatever you want or need to catch up. But we had one of these listening sessions in 2024. We will be in the main council hearing room. You will have an opportunity to sit up there like you're a council member if you want to come in person. If you want to join us by Zoom, we've had some members join us by Zoom, that's fine. We have 2. In the daytime, we allow members, public to come and visit us in person, although we do live stream it. And then in the evening, for members of the public who wanted to do it by Zoom, we have a Zoom session in the evening. We didn't have an outpouring of participation last time we did it. We had a handful of folks. At some point, we will talk to Steph about giving us the number of people who've registered in advance. So we'll know what the registration figure was a couple of days beforehand, right?
We have 1 so far that I've seen.
We do have one. So
Yeah, we have one so far.
I have a
Last time.
question.
sure.
I have a question about that. The last time that these hearings were held, you said there wasn't a great turnout. What, people who did turn out, were they, did they feel strongly about things? Did they, like, what was the general sense when
Yeah,
people?
they did actually. We had, one of the members was a member of this commission previously. He had served two terms on this commission. And I think he just follows our work and wants to keep his opinions in the mix. So that fellow testified. And then we had somebody testify who leads a group that's referred to as the County Tax League. I'm not sure if that's their official name, but the County Tax League tends to weigh in on any issues that affect the finances of the county. And one of their members testified, and then in the evening, he came back and brought another member of the County Tax League with him to testify. There are folks who feel strongly about the issues that they tend to focus on, but in terms of general public support, there wasn't a lot. And I know it's hard for members of the public to focus on this.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's where we are on that. I actually have planning for the public listening session a little further down on the agenda, so we will talk a little bit more later this morning about the details of the list, of the future list. Everybody's on the same page. I think for now, why don't we turn it over to our budget reserves work group, who has provided us with a list of talking points or discussion points based on some meetings they've had. In case that's okay, we've had, we do have requirements that we not need as a quorum offline, because these are supposed to be public meetings. But to address some of the complicated topics, we have over the years formed work groups of 3, 4, 5, if possible, to do research and collect information and then bring it back to us in a more coherent fashion for our discussion. And we have a work group that's focused quite a bit on budget and finance issues. And so right now, that's the only work group we have actually going on. So I will turn it over to Mike and the rest of the work group, and go ahead and you can kick off our discussion.
Okay, well, first of all, it's good to see Dylan in person. So we got one person in person. There's 4 of us that have been working on this. Jeff, David, Dylan, and myself. We've been primarily looking at the budget issues associated with the charter. We've been looking at the charter from a kind of a budgetary and fiscal standpoint for the last couple of years. And I know the 3 new members are coming in kind of cold to this, and I'm not sure, how much you've looked at the charter itself, the document and the various sections. But there's 2 or 3 sections just to kind of, level the playing field, so to speak. There's 2 or 3 sections in the charter that deal specifically with budget and fiscal issues in the county. Last time, our last report, if you looked at it, dealt with the budget process. Now, we're not looking at governing policy per se. We're looking at structural issues in the charter, which is kind of like the U.S. Constitution. So it's not dictating specific policies. It's just setting a framework and a structure for the governance of the county. So anyway, in the last couple of years, we've looked at the budget process, and we came up with a couple suggestions for charter amendments, which have to go through the council. And of course, if they pass through the council, then they are put on the ballot, and the voters in the county have to approve it. So it's a big, long process. But anyway, so last time we looked at budget process issues associated with voting levels. This time we're looking primarily at section 310, which deals with budget reserves. However, in the charter, it doesn't specifically identify reserves. It says budget surplus. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, to look at the section on 310 And it's just a few sentences, and that'll kind of, help with, your understanding, getting up to speed on this issue associated with budgeting reserves. Anyway, over the summer, we did some research into, what other counties have done with respect to budgeting reserves and what Montgomery County has done and the code associated with it. To make a long story short, at present, the county has two budget reserve funds. One associated with the charter surplus section, and the second is a county code developed a reserve account called the RSF. And that's a code developed revenue stabilization fund. Okay. What we're looking at, and we're beginning to formulate language around, is to suggest a change to the charter, which would update primarily section 310 dealing with budgeting reserves. There's a variety of reasons why now is a good time to look at it. From a commission standpoint, make recommendations to the county council and the executive. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But so that's kind of an overview of where we are. We've looked at the budget process. We've suggested some changes to it. Now we're beginning to focus in on reserves, which, by the way, and the dollars don't really matter to us as a commission, but it is a significant amount. It is, from a dollar standpoint, approaching $1 billion. So it's a significant amount of money for the county. So anyway, that's kind of where we stand. What I'd like to do, since I'm kind of what we've been doing is, I've been talking first, but Dylan, David, and Jeff have some strong feelings about this too. So, Dylan, could you weigh in?
So currently, policy on reserves is all outside of the charter. So what we're thinking about, and we're not at the phase of having definitive words, but what we're thinking about is that this is a really important matter. This is something that the bond agencies are really interested in. They keep pushing the county to increase the reserves or to codify the reserves. So that's what we're looking at, whether we should codify the existence and process for reserves in the charter itself. Currently it all exists in policy, and we're not considering anything restrictive, or certainly not more restrictive than current policy. Current policy is quite robust, although the bonding agencies are pushing the county to go further. What the area we're discussing and looking at is whether or not the charter should reflect the requirements around the requirements and process around emergency reserves. And just good fiscal policy, just best practices and good fiscal policy. That's kind of where our heads are. Now we're staying quite general at this early point. We're certainly not going into this listening session with any position, because otherwise it would be just a disingenuous listening session. We're there to hear what people have and get there and get people's inputs to then formulate our position. But that's what we're interested in. Should the charter reflect in more robust ways and in ways that would strengthen the fiscal coherence of the county, both specifically for the bond agencies, but also just in more general sense? That's the question on the table.
David and Jeff.
I'm gonna say, David or Jeff, this would be a time for you to speak if you have something you want to weigh in on.
I would probably echo Dylan, but I think What we're looking at here is the section 310, even though it's small, as a cap as opposed to a floor. And so we've talked to the county staff about whether that makes sense and whether that's appropriate to have a cap as opposed to a floor for your reserves. I came out of municipal government, and reserves were important to make sure that you could sustain yourself in case of an emergency. And so my push for this is really about making sure that we protect the county and provide the sufficient reserves, not just some reserves, but sufficient reserves. What we're asking people to discuss with us is their feeling about reserves. Do you want to have it codified? The advantage to having it in the charter is that you don't have to worry about new councils coming in and changing the rules and making them worse. The disadvantage from the county's perspective to having it in the charter is their hands could be tied. So our ability to reflect language in the charter that does not tie the county's hands, keeps their flexibility, but provides for some minimum level of reserves is what we're looking at, what we're talking about.
Can I ask a question? In talking to sort of our staff experts, either the council or executive office, have you gotten any sense of, how you draw that line or where you draw that line in terms of sort of saying if there's going to be some sort of floor, how do you set that floor in a way that's both flexible and doesn't tie people's hands, but provides, you with what you believe is the appropriate safeguard as a floor? I mean, it's a broad area, but how do you draw that line in a way that it's sort of appropriate to say this is what's in the charter for all time and this is what voters took to?
That's something we haven't come to yet. We haven't gotten that specific in this, but I think that the county from an organizational standpoint wants to have as much flexibility as possible. The rule of thumb, and when we started talking about this, the rule of thumb in local government is you want 3 months worth of operating expenses to be able to sustain. And I came out of Florida where you could have a city wiped out by a hurricane and you needed to have some operating expenses to cover yourself. The rule of thumb is 3 months. We don't have that currently. We have it in an unofficial way. We don't have it in an official way. So do you want to, do we want to say somehow, whether it's the stability fund or whether it's the surplus fund or some combination of those, that the minimum needs to be something? And so that's really the conversation. Is I think as long as we provide some means for flexibility in that, the county will be fine. I think the more we try and tie their hands, the more likely it is nobody's going to like what we propose. So,
and right now, I think that the county is with input from advisors and rating agencies is operating with a 10% goal. And you could define that as a floor or a target, but it's 10%. Now, if it's described as a minimum in the charter, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can never go below that in a time of an emergency. In other words, you might tap into that to mitigate an emergency or fill some unfunded requirement. Tax supported revenues aren't coming in or disrupted, and so you need to tap into that. But then you replenish it and you go back to 10%. So that's kind of the idea.
No, I'm glad to hear both what you and Jeff said, because putting it together in my mind, what I hear is different types of benchmarks. Right? One is you know, this is what the asset level should be, right? I know the code has a provision that says, here's what the mandatory annual contribution should be, right? And then,
The code, the code, not the charter.
right, I'm saying, but the code says, here's how much we want you to put in every year, right? And then there's the test you just mentioned, which is, here's what the asset level should be, and right, someone would say, as long as the asset level is there, you don't have to put anything in, right? So it's a different way of measuring, and then Jeff's giving a third way of measuring, which is, you know, this is the number of months' expenses we think should be able to be covered from the amount that's in there, whether it's 10% or whether you've made a mandatory contribution. So there's different ways of getting at this, and I think that the hard part for your work group is, you know, if you're going to come up with a proposal and draft, it's like, which of these things, you know, are the guiding?
Well, we don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to solve that in the charter. Yeah, we're grappling with some language. We've circulated some language. And so we're not yet ready. We kind of want to listen to the listening group next
And-
week.
And Jim, you know, the other thing is that building the flexibility that the county wants and needs might involve language that says, you know, in an emergency situation as declared by the council, you can go down to whatever you need to go down to, and you have 3 years to replenish it or 5 years to replenish it. And so, you know, depending on what we think makes sense from a flexibility standpoint, we could determine, you know, how the language goes in there. And it's not incompatible to pick a percentage or a months or a dollar amount. And you could do multiple of those and say, you know, the higher of these or the lower of these. So there's ways to skin that cat depending on, you know, what partly on what we hear at the listening sessions, if anything, partly what the county feels like makes sense for them. So
I have a question. Is the idea to keep section 310 and then adding a new section about the reserves, or is it replacing the surplus? So is the idea to have both the surplus and the reserves, or just reserves?
it may be something like keeping the surplus and the reserve in the stability fund, and then, but you have to have a minimum between the two. The surplus is capped. So somehow we need to get that language in 310 revised to reflect reality, right? Which is, we may need more than that. So whether that comes through the stability fund or whether that comes through the surplus fund, that's to be decided, but it'll be in 310. It won't be a new section. It'll just be modifying.
Right, that's a good question. I've been kind of my own head grappling with that. We could suggest just adding language, like adding another paragraph to 310. So that, you know, there's different ways to do this. It's a good question.
But sorry, just to dive in a little deeper, is the intent to have both the surplus and reserves, to keep the surplus?
That's to be determined, and the county council would probably want to make that decision ultimately. There's been a study over the summer. We should circulate the study. The county council hired an outside advisory group by the name of Davenport to look at the reserve situation and give the county council some recommendations on reserves. And they came up with an idea of having adding 2 additional reserves, distinctive reserves, for different purposes. So they would have the current surplus type of reserve, that is for monies that are left over after you pay all your expenses. I mean, this is just natural government accounting. Being a CPA, a former CPA, I kind of, you know, is my world. But so you have the excess funds that naturally occur in government. That would be like a reserve or a surplus. Then you have the RSF, which would continue, and then there'd be 2 other reserves. That's kind of what Davenport came up with. But I think we would leave that decision. I don't think we would put that necessarily in the charter. I think that would be a decision how you implement the governance structure that's described in the charter, how they specifically implement that in terms of policy would be left up to the county council. My idea.
So for the new guys, what's the methodology from here on out is the Charter Commission will develop a report, make recommendations in that report that will go to the council. And anything that the council's interested in, they then will vote on putting on the ballot. So there's at least 3 steps. One, we will write a report. So the council has the capacity to just completely ignore anything we say. So if we put something too restrict, we know that they're not interested in being restricted because that's the natural order of things. So if we put something restrictive, they'll just ignore it, and which is their prerogative. And then, of course, it also has to get through the ballot process. So I don't think we're interested in micromanaging or being too definitive, but I think what we are interested in ensuring that there's a strong fiscally responsible structure around the issue of reserves, and that's codified. I think that's the kind of balance we have to strike.
And I will add a third option for the council. Because I think given the nature of this topic and the timing of our report is it'll get issued around May 1st, let's say. And they have to make decisions about ballot questions in at the end of July, and they go into recess in August. So that's not a lot of time, I think, for a legislative body to consider this type of issue. I think a third option for them is to say, we appreciate what you had. We would want to take a look at this a little longer. We would want to consult our outside experts, for example. We would want to discuss it. They may choose to, it's thank you for your work, but we'll take this up under advisement. And it may be something we could consider down the road, whether it's next year or after that. But they may not be so quick to say one way or the other, what they think on the topic.
Yeah, we need to answer as a commission, why now? Why should the county council if we decide to take this issue up, make a recommendation to them, why should they do it this year?
Okay.
And are you just kind of generally thinking through it? Well, first of all, the bond agencies, the outside advisors are suggesting to the county council that the reserve levels should be increased. They're suggesting something like 12%, moving it up from a 10% level to 12%. So there is some motivation on the county council to increase the reserves slightly. And then now is a kind of a calm time. In other words, there's pretty good revenues coming into the council. I mean, to the county. There's been a good time with respect to getting out of COVID and some property values going up, and with the property taxes coming in over the last couple of years, the ratings agencies have noticed that the reserves have been significantly higher than 10% over the last couple of years. So there's some excess monies that are available to the council, to the county. There's not an emergency that the county is dealing with. So in general, although there's some headwinds that are coming up possibly, if you're going to make any changes to policy like this, the time to do it, just from a governance standpoint, would be during a calm period of time. And so, maybe, I realize there's an election coming up, and so that's going to factor into it. But we're trying to answer the question, why now?
Okay.
But no controversial issues around this,
right,
or anything like that. So
right,
it seems
right,
like a good time to do it. Okay.
Plan for the storm when it's raining.
right.
David, I see your name on the screen, so I'm going to give you a chance. Is there anything you want to add to the conversation?
Just that there's been a lot of of good thinking that's come out of this conversation. I would want to add one additional element. And Jeff spent, as he said, many years in Florida city and state government, and they had an annual recurrence of weather events that were extremely damaging. We have been lucky so far in where we are. But last year, the residents of Eastern Kentucky got a shocking event that occurred to them that they assumed, I'm sure, that they were too far away from the coast to be concerned with hurricanes. And yet Hurricane Helene extended itself up into Tennessee and wiped out towns and areas there in a very significant way. And we are closer to the coast than Tennessee. And hurricanes have a unpredictable path. And I think we need to be a little bit better ready for the risk of a substantial weather event, though not knowing for sure when or ever that will occur. And so, just the idea of being better aware of risks, making some effort to assess your risk each year, to, in essence, have the reserves you think you need based on the risks you're facing, is part of the reason we've been talking, at least in my mind, about reserves. I'm a member of a condominium board, and the state law was passed a couple of years ago based on an event in Florida where a condominium tower collapsed because of poor maintenance. And that's another area of risk, that the county has substantial capital assets, and that we need to pay attention to their condition over time and use reserves for rehabilitation and ongoing repair. So that's another area of and I'll bow out at that point.
So David, major weather events is probably the thing that we would focus most on in terms of trying to speculate why these reserves would need to be changed in any way.
In our area, you could have terrorist attacks. There's all kinds of things that can happen differently here than might happen in other places. So,
let's hope not. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to turn it back to Mike. Is there anything else on your?
Well, if I could, one other issue that we've had interesting issues, just as was brought up, that we had the sniper a few years ago who roamed the area and caused a lot of consternation and high level, much more intense activity by our law enforcement agencies. That was totally unexpected and disruptive. And we also had a scare involving anthrax in the mail that affected this entire metropolitan area. Every federal agency, no matter where you were, was worried about whether they were going to be a target of that. And those are additional kinds of events that present some risks that would conceivably involve some additional marginal costs over and above what you might have budgeted for in your normal operations budget.
I think there was a postal worker who was killed with the anthrax that was put in the mail.
I think more than one. Yeah, actually more than one.
Yeah, more than one. Wow. That was horrible.
Okay.
All right.
Can I get a sense? Can we get a sense of the commission? I'm assuming you want us to continue working on this?
Oh, yeah, no, I do. I mean, I think we're determined that, my view has been from the very beginning of this commission has been, we owe a report to the council on our work and to give our views on the issues we've stated. Whether or not we recommend the charter change or not is a secondary issue. And so we will have a report and then we'll discuss this issue to whatever extent, we come out in terms of what, our findings are, our conclusions. But yeah, we're going to go forward and put this topic on our.
Okay,
Yes.
I didn't see, like we did with the other, with section 310, 305.
305.
Last time.
It's,
I didn't see, on your proposed schedule going forward.
oh, well,
So we kind of had a,
well, there's a reason for that, actually. I left that actually on the proposed schedule. If we take up section 305,
no, so 310.
310 is the 310 is your surplus. I thought your question was, when will we take up 305?
No, my question, I don't, in your proposed schedule, we would, I guess, at some point have to have a vote to make a recommendation to the council associated with 310.
When would that be on the schedule?
Yeah, when would that be on the schedule?
I thought, January, I thought what I meant to do, at least my intent was in January, our January 14 meeting would be the first opportunity probably for a formal presentation by the commissioners or the working group and advocacy or support of any proposed charter amendments. So that would include.
I think we could do that probably early. I think.
And that's, well, it's as early as you all feel prepared to make your written presentation and advocate for your position. And then that could be as early as December if you feel ready for it, or as early as January. I had February reserved for anybody who wants to make a response with an alternative proposal, right? It says presentation of proposed alternative charter amendments, if any. And then straw votes to determine commission's majority position in February. Now, if your timing of your work group shifts that from January, February to February, March, and we'll deal with that when the time comes. But
Mike, leave it in January, please. That the holidays and everything, let's give ourselves ample opportunity to get this right.
I don't know that you'd really be ready in December, but
Okay.
if you are, God bless you. We'll do it.
Okay, well,
That's very helpful too. Thank you.
yeah.
And then you'll see I have May and June as to be determined. Because that's where I thought if section 305 becomes a topic of, that we're going to take up based on what's going on with the ballot petition initiative, then we have May and June to do that as well, and possibly even April if the timing is right.
So for the rest of the commission, if you have, so we've put the idea out there on the table right now, so have people have an opportunity to think about it. We will have the listening session next week where we'll hear from the public. We probably won't hear that much, let's be clear. We probably won't hear that much more. What we'll hear is quite specific, but we will take whatever input we get. And then if you have opinions or thoughts, it will be really helpful in December if you come and throw them on the table as well. So that as we're drafting the presentation, we have that input. Otherwise, it's a matter of we present something and people respond to that presentation. But it's always helpful to get stuff in early. If you just throw it out on the table, we at least have that input and we can incorporate that input.
Yeah, Jim, how would you want folks to respond? Because we got to worry about, the public, the public, the quorum and all that stuff, the formal way of communicating with each other. So would, for an example, the three new members, if they want to weigh in on this, they have to submit their comments to you and then you.
No, I want it to be part of the public record. I think that's more appropriate. And I think, our opportunity to weigh in with each other really in any fashion that involves at least a quorum, 6 of us or more, really should be at our January meeting and our February meeting.
It'd be at the December meeting too, Jim.
December too. But I think this is the better place for it. I think that in developing your thought, I think what your work group is doing, you've got 4, right? And if you wanted to have a fifth, join the discussion, that would be fine, because it wouldn't be a quorum. But I think if people want to develop an alternative, there probably needs to be a second group around that where they can have discussions or whatever, whoever has an alternative can have 2 or 3 people join them and figure that out, but present it here, I think, first. I'm not sure presenting it to be uniquely would, I mean, they're welcome to do it, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be the same kind of discussion. Anything else on this topic? Anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Good job.
I did want to take some time this morning to talk about the listening session. I think so that we're all on the same page. I think the first question is whether people know at this point whether they plan to attend in person at the afternoon session or whether they plan to join us by Zoom. That will give Stephen some idea of how to, and staff, and how to plan for the setup of the room and the setup of the Zoom.
Yeah, I'll have to work with the clerk's office and the communication team just so that they're.
So could we go around, and I don't remember, my memory isn't good for this. Did we actually have name tags in front of the commissioners who were there?
Honestly, just thinking the same thing. I was like, I remember you sat up there, but I don't remember.
I don't remember, because I think it's not fair to the public who's either watching on
Yeah.
Zoom or showing up to not know who's who and not even be able to address us by name, so.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we had like makeshift, obviously not official ones, but we had an ability to recognize who you were up there, if I recall.
So can we go around and just have everybody say what their current intent is to attend in person or by Zoom? I'll start with Margaret.
By Zoom.
Zoom,
Physically.
in person. Sherry?
I would like to be there in person, but I reserve the opportunity to attend by Zoom.
Okay, so we have, you can do Sherry both ways on that.
My intent at the moment is to be there in person.
In person. In person. I will definitely be there in person and online. We go with David first, it's on screen.
I'm gonna attend in person. Oh,
Howie?
Yeah, I intend to be there in person for the afternoon session and virtually for the evening session.
Jeff?
Virtual.
Yes, virtual. Alicia?
In person.
Sarah?
In person, just confirming that it's 2 p.m. next Wednesday. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
I recommend getting there a little bit early because we do have to get organized and figure out who's sitting where and that sort of thing.
and the parking garage is right next to the building.
All right, but can you get in during the day? That's.
Stephen, is there any problem with parking in the midday here?
No, shouldn't be. Yeah, it's also a public parking building, so you should be fine during the day. And then the the second floor entrance is probably your easiest access.
Can you remind us what room it is?
Sure, it's gonna be in the council, the main council.
It's the main council chamber.
Yeah.
And so that's tentatively, if you walk in come up the main steps in the main entrance, that is that level. It's called third floor, but it is the walk-in level on that side street. If you come in like we do in the morning here through the garage entrance, you're down in the basement, you have to go up to the. Yeah, perfect. All right, thank you for that. Seriously.
And just on Jim's note, when we do the virtual session at night, if we could just make sure your names are changed to whatever your actual names are, so the public does know who's watching.
All right,
And if you need help with that, I can assist.
every once in a while, I join a Zoom with an organization that tells me I can't change my name on this. I log in, it's my wife's laptop, and it's invariably, it's covered her name. They're like, you can't change it, only we can change it, it's locked down. I don't know whether your system locks it down for us to change yours.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
I've had people saying I have to do it for you.
It doesn't lock it down. You can change it.
Yeah, but if
Alicia could probably test it right now, so.
I was actually trying to change it, but I didn't see the option to.
If
you're
you
joining from an organization account, you might not
hold
be able
over
to
your
change it.
picture, the 3 dots
Yeah.
and drop them down, does it give you the option to rename? Mine does. Actually, now it doesn't. Did you guys change your Zoom? It did the last time.
Hey, I forgot I asked.
Anyway, I'll log on 10 minutes
Job.
before and make sure we're all set up, but
Are we using Teams meetings or Zoom?
Zoom.
We are using Zoom because I recently tried to join a county meeting with Teams meetings and it did not work at all for me.
Teams is way easier for like internal organizational meetings. Zoom, since it's the public, will definitely utilize that.
Teams is a bandwidth hog. You don't want to use it for this kind of thing.
All right.
You'll send out a Zoom link?
Yeah, I'll send a visit.
We don't have
Zoom
it
link.
Then maybe you and I should just a real quick test the day before, just to make, I mean, if somebody else can't log on, if the presiding chair can't log on, it's a real problem. So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and there, I'll send an email with both links for the afternoon session if you're attending virtually, and then the evening session.
Stephen, make sure you can change your name. 'Cause that's different than it used to be.
Okay, yeah, we'll do.
At least I'll be joining in person, so there won't be any confusion with my name.
But Stephen, but the afternoon session can be viewed virtually as well?
Correct.
Oh, okay, right.
And they will be live streamed, right, and recorded? Is that-
It'll be recorded. I'll check if it's live streamed. I don't think it's.
All right, so then my next question is going to be, I'm looking here. What was the date by which we asked the public to register?
We gave them up until the day of. Yeah.
So what would be a good check-in date for you and I to talk, to make, see how many folks we had registered so we can get it up here at the time?
Monday's probably good. I doubt you're gonna have too many last minute registrations. If they do come in, I'll forward them on.
Like meet on Monday.
Are there any other ways that we can publicize this? Put out a press release, reached out to the Citizen Advisory Committee. Are there any other methods? Because those seem very, like a press release from the county.
Well, a press release goes, it
Reaching very
it
far.
goes by, like, even my spouse got an email that said, oh, look. I mean, if you're on various county listservs, you get every one of these announcements. I don't know how many people you think would have gotten it.
It goes out to thousands of people. It goes out, you can sign up for email or text, so you get it either as an email or a text.
It goes out to thousands of people in a county of 1 million. That's like.
Well, I say thousands, like
All percentage.
it's a large listserv. Or I can look at the exact number because I think we had this question last time. And I was surprised at how large of a number it was that it does go out to. Is there other ways to promote it? I don't know. You could share it with.
I was gonna say social media.
I was gonna say, yeah, but from the council's perspective, that is the way that.
I mean, I'll honestly tell you, I did share it with a couple of my political social media groups. That was personal. I wasn't going to ask people to do that.
Yeah,
You're welcome to do it, of course, on your own.
Can it be sent out again? But I didn't get it. I'm very involved in county everything. I mean, I'm involved in all kinds of things. It turns out I'm actually on one of the county commissions for the charters, and I didn't get it. So I just wonder.
Have you received that?
I just think let's think about whether other ways we can push the information out. Is it on the website?
Did you, it is on the
It's
website.
on the website. I'll double check, but it should be on the website.
Have you gotten other of our press releases by email
Well, I got
notification?
you sent it, but I didn't actually get it in the other way.
No, I'm saying in times we previously press released something, have you received those?
No.
You might not be on the listserv. You know, when you sign up for the county listserv, you get to pick and choose which things you will get. If you want Parks and Recreation, you'll get that one. If you want.
My point is that if somebody really active
It's not getting,
isn't necessarily gonna get it, you certainly know that the 90% of people who aren't active.
oh, I'm sure that does.
Right, so
There's a
just,
small set of people.
like, if there's other ways we can publicize it. Because one person's registered so far, if we have 7 commissioners and 3 public,
Yeah,
that's less helpful than if we have,
Just trying to think if I could think of anything that would be.
do we have a PR organization in the county committee?
So it is sent out from the council's PR team. They don't have like an individual PR team for like each council member, but they have a centralized communications PR team that does like all their media stuff. So that's who sent out the press release and manages the press release. I'll check with Lucia and Sonia to see if there's
Other ways.
other ways.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate
don't
it.
imagine I'm gonna get a positive answer to that, but I will. I
Thank you.
will check.
Yeah. I can't think of it.
be honest, in the past, there's generally not a lot of input on.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, the council has public hearings. I don't know if it's every week of the year, but it's most weeks there is a public hearing on something. And is there, and they, the only channel they use, or is
They have to advertise in, I don't remember what paper it is exactly, but they do.
They do advertise in the
Yeah,
paper.
it's required.
It's old fashioned of us.
Required by law, for them to advertise.
Maybe we should change the charter on that.
Yeah, that's something you could look at. But that, I think they do press releases, and the council members themselves have their own, you know, flyers that go out to constituents on bills that they're more.
Yeah, it's your newsletters.
Yeah, so I imagine they put that information in their newsletters, and you get a little more feedback on, or a little more exposure on laws that have public hearings. But they would also be sent out over a press release as well, and there's a few more avenues that way.
So on the day of the event, what's the order of that?
That's what's my next topic. I'm gonna talk about how it will actually go. So this is my memory of the last time we did this. We viewed it as a listening session, a time for them to speak to us, not necessarily a time for us to speak to the public. But I'm open to suggestions. I think, you know, like you said, we're not here to, you know, pronounce our views. We haven't said any. But I do think, you know, given that we don't get a line of people waiting to talk. I mean, if you have 20 people waiting in line and you only have an hour and a half, you know, you have to limit your time per person. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It certainly wasn't last time. But so I do think if somebody has said something that really demands that we sort of inquire a little further and follow up and say, wait a minute, I want to understand what you're saying, or I want to ask you about what you said. I think there should be some room for commissioners to raise that question. So I want to leave out the possibility that if we have questions, any of us could raise our hands, it has to be recognized to ask the witness a question. I don't think you can let that get out of hand. We had a fellow, I think last time, who wanted to make statements on topics that were not on the agenda. And he had a, political wish list and he wanted to read them all. And I was generous enough to let him do it because I gave him a couple minutes to do it. I don't know that we'll have that, but I think there ought to be room for folks here to raise topics.
So I would suggest that we start off with you saying, we are the county charter commission. This is the process that's happening.
I think last time I used our press release as my guide and did a sort of high level summary of what's in here to kick it off, because part of it is, it's not just for the witness, it's for anybody who might view this video down the road, whether it's next month or next year. They're entitled to have some lead in so they understand what the meeting's about. So I will do that.
But for commissioners, if we want to ask a question, we hand up and.
So I guess the question is, it's a little, when you do a hybrid of in-person and Zoom, it's a little hard because we're all there and we're paying attention to what's in the room. We're not necessarily watching the Zoom. I guess I'm going to ask Stephen what he thinks is the best way to bring to, because I don't know, will I even have a laptop in front of me to see the Zoom, or do I have to look at the big screen? I don't even know.
I don't know the answer. My guess is no, you won't have a
That's fine, because I don't know whose laptop that would be, but
for the hybrid meeting, let me work with the communications team on that. It looks like most will be in person, so hopefully wouldn't be too much of a problem, but somebody will be able to monitor if one of the commissioners online has a question.
And
what I could do,
chat online on the Zoom? Can they ask questions? I mean, are they going to be typing stuff into the chat?
I don't know how
they'd be able to speak. Or like raise the hand and speak.
So what I could do is at the end of each witness's time, when they're done with their, whatever they came to say, I could just do a call for commissioners who have questions. I mean, assuming we only have 3 or 4 or 5 of them. If we have 20, I'll rethink this, but if I could just say, this is an opportunity, do any commissioners have questions of this witness, and then just go around the room and look and see. We could make it a formal part of the meeting. Okay.
Clarify here if we have the problem that there are too many. There obviously is going to be like one person who just has an axe to grind and will want to talk, and we just have to kind of play it by ear if that's a problem or not. At some point, we have the obligation to allow people to vent. That's their right.
And that's why I let last year's fellow
we have
go
the
on.
obligation to make sure that they don't dominate the entire event, and that's your burden.
I can check.
I'm used to it,
They
unfortunately.
do use a timer for the public hearings. I know you put a time limit that I'm sure will be flexible, but if it becomes a problem, I think we could ask them to use. There's a little like 3-minute timer that counts down.
Well, you do have a mic turnoff, right? Is there a mic turnoff?
Ooh.
Somebody has to switch to go, just.
Yeah, but I think the person that's speaking does it at the.
They have one, but isn't the Jericho mic turn off? That's
I haven't gotten to sit up there. I know.
for council members, who's ever used that mic turn?
I've never seen one used, so I don't.
Only in Congress.
But if it's becoming a problem where somebody's just ranting, we could
I'd
probably.
Oh, that doesn't.
Pull them off stage. Oh,
Okay.
more fun than we thought, huh?
Okay, anybody else have any questions or issues with respect to the conduct of the listening session?
So the one at 7 is hybrid, or are they?
The one at 7 is not hybrid. The one at 7 is Zoom only. It's to allow any member of the public who did not want to traipse down to the county office building in the middle of a workday to participate in the evening after work. So it's hybrid, it's Zoom only, and so none of us will be anywhere. I don't know where Stephen will be with controlling the switches, but
We'll be in my basement trying
we'll
to.
be anyways.
In cyberspace.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I promise you, I got my Wi-Fi issues at home. It was really bad for 6 months, and I won't name the company who was responsible for that, but it was not good, but it seems to be fixed. Okay, we're down to staff updates or comments. Do we have anything from staff to add? Any updates, comments, or anything?
Mentioned before, we have 1 registration so far. Jim, I'll send a finalist to you on Monday. We can connect on Monday if you want to distribute to the whole team. For the new members, I sent out an email 20-30 minutes ago with some things I'm sorry, I probably should have sent out before today. A couple forms that you need to fill out, instructions on just a 10-minute parliamentary rules training. And then for any reimbursements for attending meetings in person, I sent the form and instructions how to get set up on it. If you have any questions, please let me know. The reimbursement process is a little annoying. You would have to register as technically a vendor with the county. But so if you have any questions or concerns with that, let me know, or anything with the training. The forms are just volunteer forms that go to our county attorney and risk management office. In case of an accident on the way here, it's simple. 1-page form. Other than that, I don't think I'll circulate the Zoom information for the listening sessions next week. I have a list of those who plan to attend in person, which I'll work with the communications team and clerks team to have name tags and everything set up. If you decide you're not attending and know in advance you're not going to attend, just let me know so I can update them. But I think that's it from our end. We'll be back on the 4th floor for the next meeting.
And
Most likely.
It'd be interesting.
I'd like to thank Dale for arranging the telephone conversation last week with the budgets.
Unfortunately, Mike Coveyou, our Director of Finance, who this was the main person, had a unfortunate death in his family, so he was unable to attend. But Chris Mullins, all from OMB, and Rachel Silberman, who does the capital budget in our Office of Management Budget. Hopefully, we're able to address the questions that you had. And if we wish to have Mike come on at our next meeting for any reason, we can try and make that arrangement as well.
So let's decide that now. This is what the members.
Maybe not in December. Well, perhaps we'll kick it around, but
We'll have had the benefit of your listening session by then. You probably are in your development phase of what you wish to put forward. So maybe it would be appropriate for December, because by January, I think you're looking, if you're going to do it, being put out more formal language for the commission to consider.
Okay. Well,
I mean, if you want to do that, I will consider it, on our December agenda to have a guest speaker.
if you need them, if you don't think it's necessary, I'm not, I'm not pushing them on you, but if I will try and make that arrangement.
Okay, I appreciate it.
So that it gets on his schedule.
We'll kick it around and communicate through you.
Okay, let me know. And I was probably remiss. Our county executive is and staff are generous enough to attend these meetings. I really should have turned to you and let you, if there's anything you want to add to the discussion on reserves, we're glad to hear it, and I'll give you the time right now.
Well, I think the county executive, see where the discussion goes. You've got a listing session coming up. He'll be the beneficiary of that as well. So we'll look to wait till you have something more, whether you decide you wish to move forward with it or not, or it sounds like you're pretty interested in it. I suspect there'll be something, but we'll find out.
Thank you.
Howard, if a quick comment, if we're gonna have somebody attend our meeting in December, how much lead time would they need to get that on their schedules?
1 month.
We will discuss it amongst ourselves and we'll get back to Jim.
In a couple of
And
days.
feel free to
2
copy.
days,
If
48 hours from now.
If you don't have anything that you feel is confidential, feel free to copy Dale on it too, because that'll just give him an extra day. I might not see it for a day or whatever, but okay.
We'll talk about it today and.
I don't have to be the gatekeeper.
Very after tomorrow.
Not that complicated.
I mean, you do have the talking points that you distributed today, which would be, helpful for Mike to be able to address directly if you don't already have the department's opinion on that already. It also will help us to share with the county executive if you wanted to have any preliminary comment.
Thank you. Okay, we've come to the end of the formal agenda. There'll be a last call for anybody who has any questions or comments before we adjourn. Anybody? Seeing nothing, we will consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Stevie.
Thank you.